The year was 2023, and the world's eyes were on the International Military Summit in Geneva, Switzerland. Military leaders from across the globe had gathered to discuss the future of modern warfare, tactical innovations, and the evolving role of special forces in global security. Among the attendees was General Chen Wei, a decorated Chinese military commander known for his tactical brilliance and his razor-sharp arrogance. Chen had led multiple successful operations and commanded respect from his peers. But respect wasn't enough for him. He wanted dominance. During a panel discussion on special forces capabilities, the conversation turned to smaller nations and their military contributions. That's when General Chen made a statement that would echo across continents. "Let's be realistic," he said, his voice dripping with condescension as cameras captured every word. "Some nations simply lack the physical attributes for modern warfare. Take the Philippines, for example. Their soldiers are too small, too light. In combat against properly trained forces, size and strength matter. They might have heart, but heart doesn't win wars against superior opponents." The room fell silent. Diplomats shifted uncomfortably, but one man, Colonel Rodrigo Santos of the Philippine Armed Forces, remained perfectly calm, a slight smile playing at his lips. Colonel Santos stood slowly, his movements deliberate and confident. At 5'7", he wasn't physically imposing, but his presence commanded the room in a way General Chen's arrogance never could. "Colonel Chen," Santos began, his voice steady and respectful, yet firm, "I appreciate your perspective, but I believe you're confusing size with capability. The Filipino warrior has centuries of combat heritage. We've faced colonizers, survived invasions, and emerged stronger each time, not because of our size, but because of our skill, adaptability, and unbreakable spirit." Chen laughed dismissively. "Heritage is just stories, Colonel. This is the modern battlefield we're discussing. Theory versus reality?" Santos nodded thoughtfully. "Then perhaps a demonstration would be more convincing than words. I propose a joint training exercise, your best special forces unit against ours. A series of challenges that test real combat capabilities, tactical planning, close-quarter combat, endurance, marksmanship, and scenario-based operations." The room erupted in murmurs. This was unprecedented. General Chen's eyes gleamed with competitive fire. "You're serious? You want your compact soldiers to face the Red Dragon unit?" "I'm proposing," Santos replied calmly, "that Team Dagit show you what Filipino warriors are truly capable of. Unless, of course, you're not confident in your assessment." The trap was set, and Chen's pride wouldn't let him refuse. 2 months later, at a neutral military training facility in Thailand, the stage was set for what media outlets were already calling the Summit Showdown. Team Dagit arrived with little fanfare. 6 operators, each carefully selected not just for their combat skills, but for their ability to represent the Filipino warrior spirit. Leading them was Captain Miguel Reyes, a veteran of counterterrorism operations with over 15 years of experience. At 38, he'd seen every kind of combat situation imaginable. His specialty was Kali, the ancient Filipino martial art of stick and blade fighting, which he'd adapted into devastating close-quarter combat techniques. Beside him stood Lieutenant Sofia Mendoza, the team's tactical planner and reconnaissance expert. At 32, she'd graduated top of her class in military strategy and had an uncanny ability to read terrain and predict enemy movements. Sergeant First Class Ramon Cruz served as the team's weapons specialist and marksman. His calm demeanor under pressure was legendary among Philippine special forces. Corporals Juan Delgado and Maria Santos rounded out the assault element, both experts in urban warfare and hand-to-hand combat. And finally, Sergeant Paula Morales, the team's medic and survival specialist, whose knowledge of field medicine had saved countless lives. They weren't the biggest, they weren't the most intimidating, but they were ready. General Chen's Red Dragon unit arrived like a military parade. 12 operators, each standing over 6 feet tall, their uniforms immaculate, their equipment state-of-the-art. They moved with synchronized precision, clearly accustomed to intimidating opponents before the first shot was even fired. Chen himself oversaw the proceedings, his confident smirk never wavering as he watched Team Dagit's modest arrival. The first challenge was tactical planning and execution. Both teams would receive identical mission parameters: infiltrate a compound, retrieve a package, and extract without being detected by a superior defending force. Red Dragon went first, employing a textbook approach: overwhelming force, advanced technology, and systematic clearing procedures. They completed the objective in 42 minutes, with 3 simulated casualties and 2 detection instances. Solid, professional, exactly what you would expect from elite soldiers. Then came Team Dagit's turn. Captain Reyes gathered his team, and instead of elaborate planning, they had a 5-minute huddle. To observers, it looked almost casual. Chen shook his head, already composing his victory speech in his mind. But what happened next would be replayed in military academies for years to come. Team Dagit moved like water, fluid, adaptive, impossible to predict. Lieutenant Mendoza had identified a blind spot in the compound sensor network that Red Dragon had overlooked. They infiltrated without detection. Inside the compound, Team Dagit demonstrated something that no amount of physical size could replicate: perfect harmony. Sergeant Cruz neutralized 2 sensors with precision shots from positions Red Dragon had deemed impossible angles. Corporals Delgado and Santos moved through tight spaces that larger operators simply couldn't navigate, accessing areas of the compound that the defending force had assumed were unreachable. When confronted with close-quarter combat scenarios, Captain Reyes showcased why Filipino martial arts had survived centuries of warfare. Using Kali techniques, he disarmed and neutralized opponents twice his size with movements so economical and efficient that, reviewing the footage later, military analysts struggled to break down exactly what happened. The package was retrieved, the extraction was flawless. Total time? 27 minutes, 0 casualties, 0 detections. The silence in the observation room was deafening, but General Chen was not convinced. "One challenge proves nothing," he declared. "Let's see them in direct combat." Day 2 brought hand-to-hand combat trials, individual matchups in controlled scenarios. This is where Chen expected his larger, stronger operators to dominate completely. The first match paired Corporal Delgado against a Red Dragon operator named Zhu, who had 8 inches and 60 pounds on him. The match lasted 37 seconds. Delgado used Zhu's size and momentum against him, redirecting, unbalancing, and ultimately submitting the larger opponent with a technique that left the crowd stunned. It wasn't brutality, it was art. Match after match, Team Dagit demonstrated that combat effectiveness isn't about size. It's about skill, timing, adaptability, and intelligence. But the most profound moment came during the final challenge, a 72-hour survival in evasion exercise in hostile terrain. Both teams were dropped in a dense jungle environment with minimal supplies. They had to reach an extraction point while evading hunter forces and surviving on limited resources. Red Dragon approached it as expected, relying on physical endurance, powering through obstacles, maintaining strict hierarchy and command structure. Team Dagit did something different. They embodied the Bayanihan, the Filipino spirit of communal unity and cooperation. When Sergeant Morales injured his ankle on day 2, the team didn't leave him behind or slow their pace dangerously. Instead, they adapted, redistributing loads, adjusting their route, supporting each other without being asked. When they encountered a local village, they didn't just pass through, they engaged respectfully, and the villagers shared water and directions, touched by the Filipinos' genuine warmth. Team Dagit reached the extraction point 6 hours before Red Dragon, in better physical condition and with stronger team cohesion. At the closing ceremony, something unprecedented happened. General Chenwei approached Colonel Santos. The arrogance was gone. In front of international media, he extended his hand. "I was wrong," Chen said simply. "Your soldiers taught me that true strength isn't measured in inches or pounds. It's measured in heart, skill, and spirit. I underestimated the Filipino warrior, and for that, I apologize. Santos smiled him warmly and shook his hand. No apology necessary, General. You gave my team the opportunity to show the world what we already knew, that the Filipino spirit, the Bayanihan in our hearts, makes us unstoppable. Not because we're trying to be superior, but because we fight for each other, with honor and with love. The handshake became an embrace. Respect had been earned, a lesson had been learned. Team Dagit didn't just win a competition that day. They reminded the world that courage, skill, and heart will always triumph over arrogance and assumptions. Never underestimate the Filipino warrior, because when you do, you'll discover a strength that will leave you speechless.